Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. And this edition of Strengthening Oklahoma is brought to you by The Garage. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood. Well, the Kansas State game did not go the way we thought, did not go the way that we hoped. We appreciate Key Lawrence for joining us to talk about that game and where this team goes from here. 41-34, Kansas State comes into Norman and gets the victory. I don't know what it is about those Wildcats from Manhattan, but I think they've got a spell on the Oklahoma Sooners. It's welcome to the show today. Key Lawrence joins us. Key, man, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Of course, man. I could have been better, but I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. I was not in the house last night, but I did get a chance to see a lot of different footage, and I've gone back and I've watched the tape. But before we get into the game itself, man, the atmosphere. I know that my family was there, and with the fireworks and this new light show. I know it doesn't net into wins clearly, but man, it just sure seems like they're really building an unbelievable atmosphere there at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, it is totally. It's like a unreal feeling out there. So it's so much better than last year. If I was to compare it with something, it feels like an actual show that you want to come watch. Like you really entertaining and really getting your money's worth. If I could say.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I was there on the sideline, thought the crowd was good, stayed, made noise. Just the game didn't go y'all's way. Looking at those first two drives, right? I mean, Kansas State, they looked very comfortable, converted a bunch of third downs, converted a fourth down, go up 14-0. When you were able to go back and watch it, what were kind of the issues you guys were having defensively early in the game? Were they doing anything out of the ordinary? Or was it just kind of poor execution on y'all's part?
Yeah, tip the head off to Kansas State, man. They're a great football team. But honestly, I feel like it was self-inflicted. It was a self-own that we kept digging ourselves on, kept picking at it. And it was just like more of like lackadaisical things, like not being in tune, like gap integrity, just like little small things. Like we wasn't executing how we should be executing. Coach put us in great calls, and we were just simply like having mental lapse. But they're a great team. They came out to compete, and we didn't, obviously. So we went ahead and go get back and compete on Monday. Corrections today, as you guys know, and then we're gonna try to pick it up from here.
No question. Yeah, you knew it's kind of the perfect storm. I hate to say that. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but you guys played so well in Lincoln. They played so poorly against Tulane. You felt like they were going to bounce back, and they just happened to play their best game at the right time. Those first two drives to go right down, but then you guys come back and get some stops. Did you ever feel like you guys started to settle in, or just kind of walk us through that if you can a little bit? Because it did feel like you guys put together some pretty good series there mixed in throughout the course of that game.
Yeah, after the first stop, we all thought we started to click now. At first it started to be like a little lackadaisical at the beginning, but once Theo had scored that big touchdown for us, I thought it was going to be wraps, and we started to get our little feeling back. But the momentum was big for us and for them. They kept going with the flow of the offense, and we just kept letting them go. We kept letting them ride instead of stopping them. We should have stoned them from the beginning. And once they started to get that momentum, it was hard for them to stop. They had like a little snowball effect where it kept rolling and trickling in and out.
Yeah, right. They get the confidence early, and it kind of builds and builds from there. So, as the game's going on, and clearly you guys are self-aware enough to know you're not playing your best football, right? What's the conversation like on the sideline with you and your teammates on the defensive side?
Just trying to stay poised. Just trying to keep our head in the game, trying to tune out everyone else, just us versus us. And we just got to understand that Coach is not going to tell us anything wrong. He wants to put us in position to be successful. And we're just trying to apply that to the game, man. We were just trying to keep our head and our composure so cool, calm, and collected. And we just started letting little things get away from us. That was about all, though.
One thing that I really noticed, third down. We call it money down, and you guys have been good. And there was several third downs, especially the 3rd and 16, that they're able to convert on. How big of a point of emphasis do you think that in particular will be, that finding a way to execute whatever the call is, and everybody do their job, in particular on third down, to get off the field?
It's huge, man. Like, understanding that our job is so important. Like, everyone's job is so important. Coach had probably the best call you could possibly be in. We just simply we didn't execute it. We had a QB spy, and we forgot to run, and we forgot to spy him, and we just let everyone else get open, and we forgot to rally to the quarterback. And it was just mental errors that we just need to get fixed. Just having the confidence, we can't let our confidence get down. We gotta stay, keep the foot on the gas, and keep our foot on their neck, because we had them pinned. And that would have been a big momentum change for us in the offense. With our offense, they probably would have punched it in, and who knows what the score would have been like and how the outcome would have been.
Right. That's one of those moments in the game where you just look back and you go, man, how did we let that happen?
Yeah.
So I assume there were some tough and very real and honest conversations after the game amongst the defensive guys. What were those conversations like? What was it? Positive? Was it negative?
Yeah.
Like, were they constructive? You think, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Shockingly, it was more positive than negative. Coach understood. He was like, he took the hat off to K-State, like I said earlier, understanding that it was self-inflicted, and we just got to go out there and execute on Mondays. We started off saying we wanted to go harder and be more attentive to details, starting on Monday with practice. Start like having a more detailed thing, because we got a lot of young guys on the team who really haven't played in like tight games like this, on how to bounce back, how to recover, how to approach it, this in general. And coach want us to understand that it's a big deal. And for us, it was a pretty humbling effect for us, and we need to be back grounded. And we wanted to take this, and we don't want to ever feel like this again. I told the team, I know how it feels, and I do not want to feel like this again. We was on the sideline. We're going to do whatever it takes to just get back to where we need to be, and that's on top. So, yeah, I just want everybody to know that, like, this feeling was not great, but we don't have the right to point the fingers at anybody. It's early in the season, still have a long season. So, yeah.
That's great. I mean, that needs to be the message. Because, yelling, screaming, calling each other out, there's a place for that, but it's really getting back to work,
right,
and getting it fixed.
Right.
And I think recognizing that you guys still have all your goals in front of you, right? I mean, the reality is, though, you got to beat TCU. And I think that I would imagine it becomes a singular focus day in, day out, what I can do to get better individually, what we can do collectively as a group to get better as a unit. And then obviously as a team, and really you start to handle your business on a day in, day out basis, right? I mean, is that kind of the mindset and the message that you guys left that locker room last night with?
Yeah. Soon we got in, Braden Willis called us up after I got done talking to everybody and trying to uplift everybody instead of having them down. Braden Willis told us, he was just saying that he'd been in this predicament twice. He'd been in here where we lost early in the season, and how they went out throughout the whole season, pretty much perfect, and finished and got to the playoffs and got to the Big 12 championship. So he understands, as a leader on this team, as one of the older guys on this team, that it's okay that this happen now. Like, we still on track for what we want. We still on track for what we need to do. We just got to be more detailed.
Yeah, and the truth about college football is, if you're gonna lose, which you never want to lose, but it's better to lose early than to lose late. I mean, that's just how the sport works. But you've mentioned it a couple times, man. Just how eager are you and your teammates to get back out on the practice field and make the necessary corrections? Because it sounds like you guys are ready to roll and get this week started.
We're pretty fired up about it. I think this probably be the best thing. Sorry to say it, but it's probably the best thing that happened to us. So everybody knows that it's serious. Like, this is serious business. We don't want to take it for granted. So I think a lot of guys right now, they're up here currently just trying to get in the film room, get the corrections, and apply to the game. So I think it's a big deal for us, and understanding that this is what needed to be done, just so we understand what needs to happen now and what needs to occur for us to have the season that we want to have.
I love the outlook, man. I love just the approach, and the fact that you stepped up, had some things to say. Braden had some things to say. That had to be a different feeling from Coach Venables, because so far you guys have only felt, the positive, the winning. I don't want you to share necessarily what he had to say, but how was his tone? How was his demeanor with the team?
He just kept it honest with us. He told us that he'd been here before. He knows what to do and how it should be approached. Of course, he wasn't happy with it. Who would be happy with the outcome? But he was just saying that we just need to stay focused and stay dialed in. This everything like from the practice field trickles over to the game effect. So he was a joy to it, if I could say. He was pretty honest with us.
I get it. You lose the game, things are going to feel pretty negative, pretty serious after it. But when you went back and watched it as a defense, were there any, positives that you guys could take away from the game? Like where you looked at it and said, hey, that's what it looks like, or like this guy played well. Was there anything like that for you guys as a group?
Of course, it's going to be a lot of glimpses of showing that we have the right to execute. It was just having like our energy in it. Once we have once we have our energy in it, I don't think there's no team in the coach that can compete with us. And that was just one thing that we started last. We were fluctuating a lot with our energy on the field, man. Just trying to encourage each other and try to just stone them. Once we stone them, I feel like we control the whole tempo of the entire game. And those are some things that we needed to see on film. But a lot of it was just like a lot of dazed mental errors. So it was more 50-50.
That's good. You always got to try to find some positive, even when it feels all negative. And one thing I always think, it's never as good as you think when you go back and watch it. It's never quite as bad. Tackling, I would imagine, is something that you guys look at. A couple times Deuce able to shake some guys down, but he shakes everybody down. And then just, I would also think that, not necessarily your area, but keeping a quarterback, trying to not lose contain, not letting him slip outside. I mean, to me, you can go back and look at that, and there are things that can help you guys as a group get better, both positive, continue to reinforce that, and other things that, aside from just mental errors, that you guys can probably take and utilize throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a great task right now. It was a great threat for us to see where we're at as a defense. So we're going to apply this game and we're going to understand what we're going to do now, what needs to be done and how we need to prepare better. So.
Well, you guys start preparing for TCU. And, I mentioned the mobile quarterback because you played Max Duggan, and he's got some mobility. He's going to move around. It's a new coach, new staff there, but a lot of the personnel is the same. And I know that game is still so fresh, and you're trying to put that to bed. Have you started to turn your focus to TCU yet?
Honestly, Monday, that's what Mondays are for. I use my Sundays to do recaps on the day before. And then I'm going to start preparing for them, and the team as well going to start preparing for them on Monday, and we're going to start trickling over.
So I always thought, and it's weird to say, but like, if you're going to lose a game, and you don't lose often, right, when you play at Oklahoma, if you're going to lose a game, there's something good about going on the road the week after, right? You just, because it feels like it's you and your guys and just everyone in that building pulling together. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think it's, and not to say anything negative about the fans or anything like that at home, but do you feel like it's a good thing you guys are going on the road after this loss?
Yeah, because I wanted to, I'm pretty happy about it, just because I want guys to understand that it's us versus us. Like we all we got, we all we need. And I understand that without us having each other's back, no one else will. So, like, who's going to be there for us if nobody else is going to be there for us? And it needs to be just us, like, understanding that we need to be corresponding. We need to be a good group together and move as one unit, one heartbeat. And there's nothing better than going to somebody else's house once and just dominating them and just getting your confidence back and getting that momentum back, just being back in that groove, if you understand what I'm saying. So
I totally understand what you're saying. And I would say even sometimes, look, you love being at home. You love the home crowd. It's a great feeling. But sometimes I notice this, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. You can get comfortable. When you go on the road, it's never comfortable, right? You're always on edge. And kind of like you said, it's kind of like we all we got. Like, right? Like you really got to band together. And it's kind of this us against the world type mentality, kind of like you talked about. And I think that there's some real strength in that. And I think that especially when you need to come up with a big time performance to bounce back, to get that taste out of your mouth, I think Gabe's right. I think that this kind of sets up really well with you guys going on the road and heading to Fort Worth this week after this loss.
So what now with mentality is all I can say. We just got to go back and build on what we just did. You can't unscramble eggs. So
that's a good saying. You cannot unscramble eggs. Once them babies are cooked, they are cooked. Let's get some fan questions in here, and we'll let you get back to your film study. Fan questions brought to you by Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Kurt F. asks, what do you do during your free time during the college football season?
I don't have free time.
That's such a good answer.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, I don't have.
Like Netflix, do you have any, because I think a lot of people forget you got class, you got learning, you got learning specialists, tutors, all that stuff. So no free time for you, Keith? No free time
I
at all?
literally go home from practice, get in my normal text, watch some 30 minutes of film, and I go straight to sleep. I never get us to do class, go back to practice, do recovery, the same process every day.
Been there. Been there. Yeah.
But I'm not complaining. Too much free time can lead to trouble. So I'm not complaining at all.
It's a good point. All right. This last one comes from Justin H. And this is an interesting question. He says, you guys go to the movies the night before games. What's the best movie you've seen so far?
Top Gun Maverick. By far.
Oh, now you're speaking Dusty's language.
Let's go.
By far. Yeah. You like that movie?
Come on, man. Do I like that movie? That movie is incredible. Come on, man. Absolutely. I like that movie.
It was so many hidden messages and hidden gems that they were dropping in the movie. I just love the movie. And plus, it was a great action movie.
When they go through there toward the end and they got to get vertical to get out of that canal or that ravine, I had my hands on the seat like I was in that damn jet. I was like,
I swear, I feel like I was in the jet every time.
Oh man, that movie was incredible. I thought it was absolutely off the charts. So you guys got the chance to see that as a team?
Yeah.
Was everybody pretty fired up when y'all walked out of there?
They was that was the best movie we ever done seen. Because I think we watched The Beast the week before, and it wasn't all that to me. It was just something that we could all relate to and really actually enjoy watching. So yeah.
That's good. That's great. I miss the Friday night team movie nights, man. Those were always a great time. And obviously I got one for you because we asked someone last week. I think I'm going to start asking everybody when they come on. When you go to snack, what's your go-to at the post-movie, post-speech, when you get that last little snack before bed?
I gotta go get the peach strawberry banana smoothie, and I'll probably say rice stuff and some potato chips.
Okay,
simple man, smoothie and some chips.
Yeah,
I like that.
I was
cereal
wings
all day.
I was wings and then the grilled PB&J. Oh.
Yeah, I see. I'm not a big breakfast person, so I feel like I gotta borderline starve myself the night before so I can be able to have a good fuel in the morning. Because if I don't do that, I'm not gonna eat in the morning.
That's
no
fair.
doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you know, but you'll be up early next weekend. It's a 11 a.m. kick, ABC in Fort Worth. We appreciate you joining us, man. Look, losing sucks.
Yep.
And not that it makes you feel any better, but like we told you before we started, I lost to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, 12-0. People called us the greatest team in the history of the school, and they kicked our butts 35-7. Gabe in 2012, that same stadium, Kansas State came in there and beat them. I hate that I can say I know how you're feeling right now, and it ain't easy. It ain't fun. And that's why I really appreciate the time today because, you didn't have to do this, but we're glad that you did. And can't wait to see the corrections that you and your teammates make. And can't wait to see what you guys look like on the field Saturday, man. Have a great week of prep, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Man, blessings. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you. All right, big thanks to Key Lawrence for joining us here today. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. The breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. 41-34. Let's focus on the defensive side. Since we just talked with Key Lawrence, we can look a little bit more at the offensive side on Wednesday, Gabe. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it. That was a bad performance from the Oklahoma defense. On the heels of what I thought was one of the best road defensive performances I've seen in a long time with the Oklahoma Sooner football team, they followed that up with about as poor effort as they could have put forth. And I don't want to take anything away from Kansas State. That offensive line, some of the blocking schemes, all the pullers and the way they schemed it up, a lot of the quarterback run game, the quarterback outside, the lead that they were doing with the running backs out in front, pullers out in front, like a lot of different things they did. I give them credit. Deuce Vaughn is for real. He will make you miss in a phone booth, and he made several Sooners miss in a very tight, constricted area. Adrian Martinez was, he was great. And the thing that's different about that performance, because we've seen him be really good. He was good Norman last year. He never made that mistake. Thought he had one ball that was questionable, and that was the Billy Bowman. I thought should have been offensive pass interference. Billy Bowman went up to pick it. I think it was 4. Was that Knowles?
It was Knowles.
Knowles definitely got there early. No call. Smart by him, though, because that's a pick. Billy's going up the high point. It was right in his hands. But Adrian Martinez, to his credit, didn't make those mistakes. So I want to make sure we give credit to Chris Kleiman, to that entire staff. Colin Klein, I thought that he had his quarterback and his offense ready. So, like, they deserve credit. They really do. But at the exact same time, Oklahoma played like junk, okay? Oklahoma was the run fits were atrocious. Second level did not play well. I thought the defensive line, for the most part, there's a play here or there. Isaiah Coe made a couple of plays. Jalen Redmond was getting some penetration. I thought for the most part, though, they were catching. I thought Kansas State was delivering the blow on them. I thought our ends were getting washed down a lot, and they were getting nice, clean edges to get some of those runs to the outside. I thought in coverage, Gabe, we were not hitting our landmarks. Flat defenders were getting more depth and they were width. And then whenever they were supposed to be a hook curl defender, they're getting more width than depth. It was like you watch that tape and you're just like, who is this defense? Because it's not the defense they put on tape the first 3 games of the season.
No, it was unrecognizable, honestly. That with how well coached they are, and this is one thing, sometimes when games like this happen, right? No, you don't lose a lot at Oklahoma, but you want to blame the defensive coordinator, you want to blame Ted Roof, Brent Venables, whatever. Like, it's not like the game plan was overly complex.
No.
The players, you got to put a lot of responsibility for that performance on the players themselves, because you and I both know how that defensive staff prepares them.
Yeah.
And
unbelievably well.
To misfit runs, to leave. And this was the first time we saw free runners, right, in the back end of the defense. I mean, that tight end is still, the Senate kid is still open in the middle of the field.
Yep.
Guys not carrying certain things in zone coverage, guys, like you mentioned, not getting to their landmarks, not pattern reading, like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And you've got to give credit to Kansas State. They were the more detailed team. They're the more disciplined team. They were the more physical team.
Definitely the more physical team in that game. Definitely.
And that is, that's everything that program is about.
Yep.
And the fact that they came in to Norman and played the way that they did tells you a lot about that group, tells you a lot about Chris Kleiman. And I actually talked to Kleiman after the game, and I was chatting to him about Adrian Martinez, and he said that's what we thought he could be when we brought him in. And he was, you got to give credit where it's due, man. He was spectacular. Now, the defense did a lot of things to make him look great. There's going to be some soul searching in that defensive meeting room, because Now it's on tape, right? Now it's on tape. They were building this reputation, right? And that stuff matters. Anyone that doesn't think it matters is wrong. And all of a sudden, that all just dissipates, right? Poof, vanishes. And people are viewing Oklahoma's defense like, hey, that's a vulnerable group.
Yep.
So now teams are going into the game with a different mentality maybe than they would have after the first 3 performances. So got a lot to correct and got to correct it quickly because TCU has better athletes than Kansas State.
Yeah. I can't say that. I cannot say that I think their offensive line is as fundamentally sound. I'm going to tell you what, man, and we talked about this from last year's team. They are fundamentally sound. Like, I mean, footwork, when they're on a double, coming off, getting to the second level, when they pull around, pulling around, knowing exactly where to go. I can't sit here and say that they're all NFL players or top draft picks, but man, they do what they're asked and they do it very well. Like, I was really impressed with the way their offensive line played. You and I've talked, you and I done a lot of Big 12 radio together, and we talked a lot about Kansas State. I was always worried that if Adrian Martinez was able to play clean and not turn the ball over, that's what he's capable of, because he is a dynamic runner with the football. Like, I mean, a dynamic runner.
I mean, do you see, and I know you watched the coaches tape.
Oh, yeah.
Jaden Davis comes on a corner blitz.
Oh, I saw it.
And he is running full speed at Adrian Martinez. Martinez feels him.
Yep.
Just runs away from. I mean, the guy can absolutely go. Like, he is at the very least a 4-5 guy.
Oh yeah, easily. And I mean, he was outrunning our linebackers at will throughout the course of that ball game. And the biggest thing is, to me at this point, look, it was bad. It was bad. It was a collection of a lot of things, and it was bad. And I hate that we have to talk about that. We obviously care about that staff, care about these players, but it is what it is. Like, I don't think anybody within those walls would say anything other than it was bad. Unrecognizable is a perfect word. They allowed Adrian Martinez also just to get comfortable back there, even as a passer. Like, they never really forced his hand much throughout the course of the day. And the key at this point, though, is how do you respond, right? Adversity has hit. Adversity is struck in the Brent Venables era. First game of Big 12 play. How do you respond? Because I look at very similar the team that just came into Norman. They scored 10 points and struggled to do that against Tulane the week before. Then they show up after, as you said, I thought you put it perfect. I guarantee in Manhattan, Chris Kleiman, Colin Klein, and that offense did some soul searching. And guess what? They found out they got a backbone, right? They got some character to them. And they came out and they said, to heck with that, what just happened at home against Tulane. Let's go be us in Norman, Oklahoma. Let's go get our dignity, our pride, and our respect back in Norman, Oklahoma. I want to see that exact same mindset and execution in Fort Worth next week, because you're always going to fall down, but it's about what you do when you're down. I think that really defines who you are as an individual, who you are as a team, and in this regard, who this defense is, and really who this program is going to be, right? You've been knocked on your ass. What are you going to do? Are you going to lay there? Are we going to continue to see the same mistakes, the same problems, and continue? Max Duggan's playing great, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He's playing the best football of his life right now, with all kinds of confidence. If you think they're not going to watch that tape and they're not sitting there going, oh, we got this. Sonny Dykes is really good. Garrett Riley is really good. But to me, it's not even about them. It's about this group, this team, and how do they respond? That's what I'm really looking forward to about next Saturday, 11 o'clock on ABC, because it's going to tell us a lot about the character of this football team.
There's no doubt about it. And it all starts with having a great week of practice, right? I'm sure that practice is going to be ramped
Intense.
up.
It should.
And you know how those Schmitty workouts are going to be now that there's a one in the loss column. That'll be ramped up as well. But the important part is that the guys stick together, right? Especially the defense after that performance. You can point fingers, right? You can point fingers all you want. And there's guys that were more at fault than others. There's no doubt. That's how the game works. But it had felt like this group was really, really coming together. And now, like you mentioned, adversity strikes. You got to make sure you stay together. You have to make sure that the locker room stays good and that tightness, that continuity is still there. This football team can still accomplish a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. But it all starts in Fort Worth on Saturday. And I will say, when you are in conference play, right, and you're playing teams, you're playing good football teams, your best players have to play well.
Yep. Have to.
The best players, the guys that we have identified as the best players on that defense did not play very well against Kansas State. You got to have your dudes playing well. And I'm sure that'll all be addressed, right? No one's more upset about the way they played than those guys. But lot of corrections to make. Not a lot of time to do it because TCU, like you mentioned, man, that offense is humming right now. There's no doubt.
So a couple things here before we end this episode. Number one, again, you and I have talked a lot about this, not on here, but this is top to bottom, the most competitive conference in all of college football.
No doubt.
We saw that play out over the weekend. Tech beating Texas, Kansas for real. Like Kansas ain't a joke. Jalen Daniels, kid is playing as good as any quarterback in college football right now.
People aren't going to want to hear this. I've studied Kansas's offense pretty extensively now.
It is very tough. It's very tough.
I think Andy Kaldanicki is really, really good. Kansas's offense is better than Kansas State's.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and they got guys making plays, receivers going up and getting the ball. I watched about all that Duke game. I had a lot of games going, but I watched a lot of that Duke game. Kansas, my only point is West Virginia could easily be 4-0 right now. I know they're 2-2. Could be 4-0 right now. There is no gimmies on the schedule. You got to bring it every single week. Every single week, or you could get beat in this league. That's just the reality of it. There's going to be some carnage in this league. There's going to be parity in this league. And I don't say that to prepare people for losses, but it's just a reality. Like you don't come and play well, to your point. If your best players don't step up and play well, you might get beat. Like that's just the way it is. There's no bye weeks in this Big 12. Oklahoma is not head and shoulders better than everybody else that they can just show up and win. If they just have that mentality and show up or defensively play like they played in Norman on Saturday night, they're going to get exposed. So that's why it's imperative this week and every week that practice, the preparation is so key and so important. And yeah, Schmitty, there's no doubt the workouts will be tough and I'm sure practice will be physical. But to me, I saw so many busts. I saw so many guys out of place. I saw guys just not doing their job. That's not physical. That's mental. And so that's the part that really in practice, defensively in particular, having a detailed understanding of exactly their responsibility on a given call against a given route combination, a run scheme, whatever it is, that to me is as or more important than the physical side of it, because what I saw him get pushed around a little bit, but I saw more than that, just the mental aspect of this defense really be at fault. And it should not happen anymore. And my last thing I'll say, because I want to leave on a positive note, Mike Houck. Mike Houck's always got great stats. And I'm not saying this to be a sunshine. I'm not saying this to be a sunshine pumper. All I'm saying is this is a fact. And this is what Mike Houck tweeted last night. Including tonight, Oklahoma football has lost its Big 12 opener 5 times going back to 2006. On each of the 4 previous occasions, the Sooners won the Big 12 championship. Now, and I'm pretty certain you remember that team in 2012 and the team in 2020. I'm pretty sure they lost to Kansas State as well in that Big 12 opener. So
both years lost to Kansas State at home.
So now this team, and that's not a guarantee they're winning the Big 12 championship. I'm not here to tell you that, but what I am here to say is I think a lot of people in Sooner Nation feel like the sky's falling. I feel like everybody's freaking out. And I would just say, take a deep breath, relax. The sky isn't falling. And let's just see how this team responds, because the proof is in the pudding. 4 previous times, this exact same scenario happened. And 4 previous times, different head coach, different coaching staff, different players. Some of the same players were here in 2020. But those players, those teams responded and still won a conference championship and put themselves in position potentially to play for a college football playoff or a national championship. Let's just see the way this shakes out. I'm not going to completely freak out. We can all say what happened last night was unacceptable. That's losing ball. But let's start to find out what this team's really made of. If that wasn't a wake-up call, if that wasn't a reality check, I don't know what is. So I just leave you with that. Let's not act like the season is a complete loss and we should all just give up on this year. I don't think this team, the staff, these players are giving up. I don't think the fans should either. It sucks. Everybody's upset. That's okay. Let's see what happens at 4th next week before we completely jump off that ledge.
No doubt. And I know they're going on the road, but when they do come back home, right? Need the fans more than ever, man.
Yep.
And the fans showed up. The atmosphere was good. Some people want to say, oh, they could have been louder. Listen, it can always be louder. The fans did their part. The players, the team did not give them a lot to cheer for, especially early, falling in that hole. So just, the fans will do their part. I know they will. Now it's up to the players to correct those mistakes. And I agree with you completely. It's time to find out what these guys are made of.
No doubt. We're going to find out later on this week. All right. Thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. And thank you to you guys, our subscribers. You mean so much to these players. You help make this entire thing go. We thank you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.